So it's been about 6 months since I've been back in my hometown here on Georgian Bay. Not exactly the home that I grew up in or even the same neighborhood, but it's still the same roots, same stomping ground, same water. It's interesting too that, it's where I grew up and it's where my kids are grounding in and putting their roots now. I've always been a lot like a wildflower, as Dolly Parton would say, and didn't care where I grew. In fact, I really much resisted a lot of the teachings, cultural teachings, um, which are shared in this land. Today, I'm recording from my garden because it feels like the right place to speak from. Not from a stage, not from some polished. There's not really a polished version of myself, let's be honest. I'm usually barefoot, but there is polish on there today. um, is really about me just like, yeah, being here in the dirt with the plants, the land where things grow after being buried. I was inspired today because someone in the Elemental Growth Network, a shaman from another part of the world, said that they didn't realize we had powwows and Indigenous people here in Canada. And with all the travels I've done, learning from other shaman, medicine people, land in 5 different countries, Canada, United States, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru, I realized that I was learning from everywhere, but not my own culture, and I wasn't sharing my own culture either. And honestly, I understand why they would say that. Some of our, in fact, like most of our history, like so much of our history has been hidden, erased, distorted, um, and made invisible. And it's brought a lot up for me because I'm coming back to my roots here. I spent a long time, as a lot of people would say, running from this area, from like not exactly who I am, but like I guess where I'm from and the lessons that were meant to be instilled in me, the practices that I denied. And I still found a way to do my healing. I still found a way to be me and find me, but it definitely wasn't a traditional sense. So in a way, I don't think that I was really running. I think I was just surviving, and surviving in a way that um, my ancestors did. You know, I was told my whole life, especially as a child, how resistant I am to the system. I still am today. Um, but as a child, especially, as resistant as I was also surrounded by alcohol, smoke, neglect, grief, trauma, and so were many of us. It doesn't mean our people are broken. It means our people have been carrying what never should have been placed upon us. The system is not broken. It's built this way. It's not broken. It's fixed and it's corrupt. And it's no less corrupt now than it was during the colonization. And it wears different clothes, but it's still the same thing. Our people were displaced, assimilated, taken from their language, their land, their ceremony, family identity. Residential schools existed in my lifetime. It was in the, I think, 1996 or 1997 that the last one closed down. Indigenous women still go missing. Um, we wear red, actually, to honor the missing. It's a very powerful color. It also represents the blood that we all share, no matter our color. Um, Families still carry grief that was never investigated, never honored, never given justice. In my own family, which is actually we're mutts, we're blended Ojibwe with the colonizers. And in my family, my mom is the first woman to live beyond 35. My grandmother, her mother, my mom's mom, she was found dead outside of a bar. Her mother, so my great grandmother, my mom's grandmother, she was found in a snowbank. Um, there was no real investigation, no proper answers, just another Indigenous woman gone. Also, a lot put on the family as it being alcohol or, so even the remembrance of these women isn't that great because of the trauma, because they did drink and, it wasn't. It wasn't known back then what alcohol did to us. Our bodies could not handle it the way that the Europeans can. We do things much different here, different medicines that we share. So here I am, myself, still here in the garden, barefoot, raising children, growing food, building community, remembering ceremony, telling the truth, opening up that throat chakra, coming back to the roots that I thought that I had to deny or hide or leave behind. I didn't think I fit in. I grew up I was on Crown land, but outside of the reservation, I was whiter than the other Indigenous kids. And while I had like a lot of like friends from the res and that, it's still I didn't feel like I fit in, but I also didn't fit in with the white people or the French kids or anything like that either, because I was too much of a wild child. I did have the trauma, and so I was covering that up with addictions or get my hands into things that just didn't fit into that life either. Plus, I was like always a bit like rogue and wild and feral and barefooted. And so, I just walked that lone wolf path. It was interesting walking the path yesterday in bare feet. We had 2 days of powwow bringing in the solstice, and then yesterday was our rendezvous in Discovery Harbour, and that was Father's Day, the solstice, everything all mixed into one. And also with the solstice was bringing in Riley's birthday. She's 18 months. So yeah, there's a lot to celebrate. And as we were walking through Discovery Harbour, me and my family, we were going through the general camps from the military. And we saw, as we looked out, this island. It's called Snake Island by the Indigenous people, and Magazine Island also, because the military used it to store ammunition during the war. So, I was realizing that the island is layered and the land is layered and we are layered. It's a blend of Indigenous stories, military stories, settler stories, spirit stories, haunted houses, giants. Georgian Bay has over 300,000 islands and so much beauty, so much lore, so much memory. And as all of these stories were unfolding, I realized me and my family walking that path is also creating a new story. My brother actually brought his family. They flew in from the East Coast and joined us at the rendezvous, and his daughter was born 2 days after Riley. So tomorrow we will have another celebration too. But I think I wanted to like pause as I'm integrating and reflecting, because I think this is all part of my understanding now. Coming back to my roots, not just about claiming an identity. It's about listening differently. It's about understanding that the land has always been speaking, that the ancestors have always been speaking, that my body has been speaking. It wasn't just always safe enough to hear or to listen or to walk that way. But now I'm hearing more, and what I'm getting now is that our grief is real, that our rage is sacred, that our survival is proof, that our healing is already happening, that we are not powerless, that in fact we are the ones who have survived. This means also that we carry superpowers. We carry the intuition, the pattern recognition, the deep feelings of connection to the land, the connection to spirit, the ability to laugh in hard times, the ability to feed people, the ability to rebuild from ashes, the ability to remember what was almost erased. It's such a sacred time in human history. And that is the medicine. I don't share this because I have it all figured out. I don't. I share this because I am in it as a human, being raw and vulnerable, staying open. I am learning, I am grieving, I am remembering, I am forgiving. I'm forgiving everybody for everything, and I'm forgiving myself for what I didn't know. I'm forgiving the parts of me that ran, that didn't feel safe, that didn't know her strength. Maybe those versions of myself were just trying to keep me alive from feeling pain. I feel like many of the deep addictions, the mental health issues are coming from us being such highly sensitive souls that feel everything so intensely, and that do recognize the patterns, and that something isn't quite right here, and that there is this coming back to nature. And I don't want us to just survive. I want to belong. I want my children to know where they come from. I want them to know their history, not just the trauma. I also want beauty and strength and ceremony and humor and land and song and food and kinship and spirit. This is all part of elemental growth. The earth coming back to the land. Oh, there's Finn. Water feeling the grief. Fire telling the truth. And air speaking what was silenced. Spirit, that's where the alchemy is, that alchemic gold, and that's remembering who we are, like in The Lion King, right?
Yeah.
So today, from my garden, with my 10-year-old boy here.
I'm her son, everyone.
Let's honor the ones who came before us, the ones who didn't make it, the ones who survived, the ones who forgot, the ones who remembered, and the ones like me who are just finding their way home. I love you, buddy. I love you guys.